Welcome to the lesson on the 1-4-5-7 chord progression. This will be a little bit of dry music theory, but it's worth learning, and it's not a whole lot, so it's not too complicated. Anyway, music is set up in different keys. This chart shows the major keys. So for example, you have C major, D major, E, F, etc. There are chords associated with the key. So for example, you have a 1 chord, which is a C, a 2 chord's a D minor, 3 is an E minor, 4 is an F, and so on. So for example, in the key of D, the number 1 chord is a D, which makes sense because it's the key of D. Music tends to use certain chords. So a very common chord to use, progression to use, is the 1, the 4, and the 5. And the 5 is almost always played as a 5-7. So a way of practicing chords so that you don't get overwhelmed by all of these chords is to just learn 1, 4, and 5-7. So let's say you're looking in the key of C. You would want to learn to play the C chord, an F chord, and the G7. So we go over to our chord chart and you go and find those chords. So here's the C chord, which we know, which is that guy right there. And we go down to the F. There's the F chord. Turn the page. And we go down to the G's. And there's G7. And then you might say, well, I got a handle on C. That's going pretty good. Okay, how about F? Well, let's see. F, we would have an F chord, B flat chord, and a C. Now we already know the F and the C, so all I gotta do is go to our chord chart and find the B flat, which is this guy right here. The next key that I'd recommend learning, once you learn C and F, is to learn G. For G, you need to know the G chord, which we know, the C chord, which we've seen before, and now we pick up a D7. So we go over to the chord chart and find the D7 and this chord right here. And if you want to get real ambitious, you can try another one. Say you want to learn to play an E flat. No problem. E flat, A flat, B flat. Okay, that's going to be a lot harder. But once you get one key progression, well, you can go in here and learn some other ones, and all the chords are laid out. And when you're practicing chords, rather than say, well, I want to try to learn to play these oddballs, just learn to play the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5-7. In the next lesson, we'll practice playing some of these chords in progression, because some of these get a little bit tricky, but they're all basically the same thing, and they're all part of the same pattern. Good luck practicing.